I find it so funny to think that a year ago I didn't actually know any of you. And I feel like you're such close friends now. Like I know so much about you, and I've been inspired by your art, and I've laughed in your improv and just been touched by your insights. It's just been amazing.
Agreed. Ditto. Ditto. I think coming every week and seeing you guys, um, I get so inspired. I think sometimes I have my own goals and things that I want to work towards, and sometimes those get a little stagnant, and I might get a little stuck on my own. And then every week when I come to class and everyone talks about maybe some had some big revelation during the week or did the homework, I get so inspired by hearing what everyone else is doing, and it sort of helps me sometimes get back on track. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go back and revisit that item or start practicing that concept that we learned about in class and really apply that more. So I'm very appreciative of everyone.
Yeah, I think I feel the same. That the art play and the improv, I start to miss it. I feel like I need that time again because that perfectionism that I had like top of my list last year, um, it's come down, a lot, and I think it's due to that time, that art play and that improv, um, and yeah, I miss it. It'd be great to get involved with that again.
I feel like a year ago, I didn't really consider myself to be an artist. And now I feel like with this incredibly supportive community that you've all made, um, I do think of myself as an artist. And I get, like I care about doing it. And somebody at work the other day told me they hate watercolor, and I got so offended. I was like, I love watercolor. How can you say that?
I was sharing with Carrie during our most recent doodle day about how one of, as you know, as you all know, one of my big goals was sharing my art and how having this community and sharing, wanting to share my art with all of you every week in like breakout rooms or even during like lab partner meetings, like really helped me build like that confidence to actually share it like with more people in my life. And so that was a huge help, just having such a supportive and encouraging community that was just so excited to see what I had created.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I see that reflected in my real life too, because it's weird. Like previously, the method by which I might like share art is like on social media, and it's important because I want likes or something like that. And I'm totally not in that place at all, which is nice. I feel a lot more like it reminds me of being like a little kid when you like you draw something and you're like, look what I did. Isn't that cool? But like, it's really cool to be able to share it with you all. And also, yeah, I share in real life with friends now. And I think it's actually inspired some of them. Now other friends are like, let me show you what I scribbled the other day, and we exchange. And it's like the connection here is great, and it also bleeds out into the rest of my life too.
Feel like I think in metaphors more, like I think more visually than I used to. Like I was more of a journaler and like a writer, and I never was an artist at all. And now I actually think more in terms of, oh, I think I would draw that rather than I would write that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Sarah, I resonate with that too. It's so much more fun for me to doodle my journaling instead of like writing it all out lately. So instead of having to like write through and think through all my thoughts, to be able to like draw little pictures adds a fun or playfulness or a little bit of lightness to what would otherwise be like a thinking session.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen any of you for like over 6 months now because life got a little chaotic. And as I sat down to do this, I pulled my sketchbook out from when I started the lab a year ago, and I started looking through the pages, and I just remembered how freeing it felt to just take something to draw with and just kind of like let your mind run wild and let your hands walk around the page. And it's just, it's amazing how I kind of lost touch with that. And then as soon as I saw all of your faces and I opened this book, it all came back to me, and I realized how important it is to have that regular creative outlet and to make time for creative expression so you can feel more free, not just in your creative endeavors, but like in all of your life. Because I feel like this practice of expressing yourself sort of bleeds through to every aspect of your life.
Totally agree, Jason. I did the same thing. I got my books out to remind myself of just what I've created all this time in the lab. And it's funny, I feel like it reminded me of wanting to be seen. And so that joy of sharing the things that I created, it does spill over. It spills over into sharing it with my husband and my son, and talking about it so much more easily. So that was such a great experience of just that being seen, and it's a great feeling.
I think it's interesting too, is because it's not like you're sharing because you want approval, right? It's just sharing because, like, exactly what you said, Hannah. It's like, yeah, like, look at this cool thing that I did, and you're kind of excited about it, and not like, oh, please tell me that I'm okay.
Well,
Yeah.
and you're sharing with people who have like, thought about the same things and can really identify and understand, kind of where you're coming from, even though your picture might look completely different to someone else's, but you've all been sort of noodling around in a similar way.
Yeah, yeah. And I've had like it's exactly what you're saying too, where it's like it's not to show off. It's like, hey, this is cool. And I've had, like a friend be like, oh, I couldn't do that. And then I can share like the same type of attitude that I've learned here in the lab, which is like, oh no, you totally can. Like just like try not to be afraid about, like, don't worry about scribbles or wrong lines or anything like that. And like I had some, I've seen some people start drawing more and like show me their stuff, and I'll be like, that's great. I think that's great. It doesn't have to look like technically correct. And um, it's like really good skills to share out into the world too.
Yeah, it's cool that
Yeah.
there's that ripple effect.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Netta, that was interesting. When you said you showed your friend something that you drew or a piece of art, and your friend said, "Oh, I could never do that," and that's just like a testament to what the world is like now, where we're just comparing ourselves to other people and what other people create. But the goal is never to do that, like to do what someone else is doing. The goal is just to do. That's the whole thing.
It's that spirit of play, right? It's the let me just like mess around and see what happens, and that sort of anti-preciousness idea of just like meeting the materials and like seeing what they want to do today, rather than like, oh, I have to get this right. It's, I don't know, it just made such a difference for me.
I think that's what's so great about the lab, is that it's taught me how to like find joy in the process of creating. Like I'm creating because I'm enjoying it and I'm having a great time, and I'm sharing it because I want to share that joy with other people. And that is not how I was creating art before I joined the lab.
And learning that like you can draw something and then it might not look exactly like that thing, but it like totally feels like that thing. And it has what we learned is called the vibe of that thing, and how that can be even more awesome than the thing you were drawing in the first place.
Mine, Miriam, is like the letting go. For me, it was always like, oh, well, the shoulds are there. How should it look? How, do I expect it to? And it's like, oh, I can let go of all of that and just let it be and discover something new. That's amazing.
I feel like I had an interesting journey with the art piece, because when I first started, I was excited about wanting to develop an art practice, thinking like it's just going to flow naturally, and like this is it. This is why I'm joining. Also improv, I was like so scared about doing it. And during like a year ago when we first started, I actually took more to the improv than the art piece, which was like incredibly surprising and very applicable to my life, and like practicing more yes anding and just being more open to to opportunities and to offers in the world. And it's just been so interesting for me, sort of through the year and participating in some of the different modules, how both the improv side of things, kind of working into maybe more difficult things and really challenging myself in that space, was both exciting and a little bit, I don't want to say scary, but a little scary in a safe space to like try something that was like out of my comfort zone. But I was really pleasantly surprised that sort of this art practice really has developed over time. And I just was like waiting for the right thing to sort of like hook me. And once it did, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, and very similar to a few of you on the call, and Netta, when you said like it feels like you're a kid wanting to show people. Like once I started drawing things that I liked, I was like, oh, I want to show all the people this. Like and it looks cool to me. And very similarly, I had a conversation with a friend and they're like, oh, you're so good. Like you're so good at art. And I'm thinking, I mean, yeah, but also that's just because I sat down and I tried it. And so I feel very thankful for the group to get me to that place. And also similar to what Sarah said, like to be able to process more visually and like through drawing. I never would have thought to do that before. And it felt pretty freeing. It felt like I was just sort of dumping my brain onto the page. With a much more visceral representation. Like I could show that to people, and I feel like instead of someone having to read a whole journal entry, they could like look at that and be like, oh, like that's what you're going through? That feels like a lot. Or wow, that looks really peaceful. That's so wonderful and nice. And it just was a nice way to convey sort of whatever I was going through at the time.
So, like some of you, I also have gone back into my sketchbooks, especially the one from a year ago. And one of the first pages, I believe, is we were reflecting on who we are and why we are here in the lab. And there is a line that I wrote down, and it says, I got here because I took a chance. And I feel like that's exactly what the lab was about for me throughout this entire year, was like taking chances and taking those safe risks and being obvious and noticing those things in the world and those opportunities. And so I think it's really fascinating that that is what got me into the lab and what I'm also like built within the lab and taking out of it.
Well, I would say that in addition to expanding or building my art practice, the improv work which I was kind of scared of initially and had to kind of push myself. That was the thing that was kind of, I wasn't 100% sure about. But that has really helped me, sort of build this feeling that I can do things that feel hard, because it felt hard, but I did it. And it turned out to be not so bad, and sometimes actually fun. And that has really been a great perspective for me to take with me into the rest of my life. A few months ago, I ended up doing some public speaking in front of a much larger crowd than I've ever really spoke in front of or felt comfortable speaking in front of. And it was scary, but I knew that I could do it. And I'm hoping that and know that going forward, I will be able to know that I can do it even when things are scary.
When I started the lab, I was taking on a new role. And the new role required for me to be okay with the unknown. I didn't know what to expect. I was a little unclear as to how it might develop. And I began to realize that I was expected to be creative. I started to do a little bit of work that my team actually was like, hey, can you do more of that? And so what was great about being in the lab at the same time, I was able to explore a little bit, and with the art play and with the improv as well, which oftentimes I get frozen when I'm faced with that. But it was helpful to kind of push me. And professionally, I was able to sort of branch that and build on that desire of my team to be like, be more creative, and ended up doing some work that they really enjoyed. And so for me, doing that and putting that out there was like new for me. That was a surprise. I think I surprised myself. And but I sort of had this support group as I was doing that and being challenged at work. I had the lab to come to, and all of my smiling faces that I would see, and the friendships that were extended, and that support was there. So what's really cool is I'm continuing that effort at work and just continuing to expand that, kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone and trying things and just saying, you know what, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So that's a little new to me, or for me. And so, yeah, it's been just that interesting journey. And I'm still on it, which I think is fantastic.
I'll share that when I first started the lab, I kind of similar to Michelle, just by participating in the lab was doing something that was sort of out of my comfort zone. I wouldn't normally sign up for an art class or an improv class. And it was sort of this safe container to try something that I would not normally do on my own. And I work from home and I'm fully remote. I'm pretty isolated. And so this was sort of a nice way to like get a little more interaction with people who want to be on camera, because at my job, nobody wants to turn their cameras on. It's very lonely. And so not only did the lab sort of bring a new community to me, which has been really amazing, and a really supportive community that I can sort of discuss lots of things happening in my life about, but also getting to practice the things that were a little bit scary in class and sort of seeing what everyone else is doing really was inspiring to go out and want to try new things in my regular life and say yes to more opportunities. You know, I had gotten I'm a pretty outgoing person. And after sort of getting into partnership and getting comfortable, I started staying home a lot more, and I stopped going out as much and doing new activities, which was pretty normal for me. And so being back in the lab sort of was like reignited that internal flame of like, I want to go try new things again. Like, what happened? Where did I go? And doing new things with my partner and taking some of the activities that we did in class and like trying them out at home, or sparking some really fun conversations with friends and partners sort of in the real world outside of the lab. And it really has spilled over in a lot of different ways. And the one I think that's most tangible for me is sort of switching from sort of a blocking mindset of saying, but like when someone invites me out to do something and maybe saying, I don't know, like I'm not really feeling it tonight. Instead, really kind of thinking about it, taking it in and saying yes. And maybe it's if I don't want to do it that night, maybe it's like, yes, that sounds amazing. And let's do it next week because I'm really tired. Or yes, and like I'm pumped and I'm ready to go and I'm ready to take on this new thing. And so that has been a really nice sort of extra spark and extra spunk in my step. So I am very appreciative.
When I first joined the lab, I was very much in a transitional phase of my life, and I was kind of relearning how to like live in my body and with my brain. And one of the big things that I have taken out of the lab is that I trust myself to be kind and compassionate when I make mistakes in my life. And I learned that through the art and the improv, and through all of you as well. But that's just one of those big things. Like I trust myself to take care of myself, even when the mistakes happen or something is happening that I don't necessarily like. I trust myself to be kind and compassionate.
I feel like I'm approaching things since doing the lab with more that spirit of play and experimentation. So just like other people have mentioned, this idea of not treating challenges as this big scary thing to you either succeed or you fail, but more like, oh, let's see how this goes. And if it goes well, great. If it doesn't, okay, I'll learn something and I'll move on. I think the other thing I really learned was this concept of being obvious, this idea of I'm 100% myself and I can be myself, and that's exactly who I should be, and that I don't need to compare myself to others or try to be more like other people, but I need to work on being more like myself. And to do that, I need to figure out who I am. And I think I've done a lot of that work in the lab, figuring out what I like what's important to me, how I want to show up, and just really deciding that, oh, it's a good, it's a good place to be. Like being me is fine.
Being you is great. I kind of have a weird mishmash of thoughts, so sorry, Carrie. But first of all, like listening to you guys is always amazing. I feel like it's part of the magic of the lab that we can't articulate on paper. I don't really know Jason, but part of this is also your fault because you were the tip of the join the lab for me. But my life would not be the same without you guys in it, for helping sell the lab or for spending the bulk of the last year with you guys. My life a year ago looked completely different. I feel like I'd already done the venturing boldly, not that there's a monopoly on that, but like I'd already done that. I'd left a 15-year career that was successful that nobody really understood why I was leaving, because I was set up to keep going, but I was done. But I didn't know who I was without that job. So like life was good apart from that, but it was just so weird kind of like listening to Michelle talking about trusting yourself, right? Like I didn't really, like I trusted myself to make the decision, but then I was like, uh-oh, now what? So I don't know that anyone's ever said I'm short on confidence, but I didn't really have a lot of confidence in myself and what was going to happen or clarity on what my life should look like. And actually the anti-preciousness stuff is huge. Like even taking a silly doodle and showing it to someone else with that childlike enthusiasm isn't about technical accuracy, which is what most of my life has been built around. So much is just like, look, it's so ugly, it's cute. And it's exciting. But like all of these little things, like I never would have thought improv exercises would have helped me figure out huge things that I can then take to therapy later and be like, this thing I learned about myself. Like I just, so much has happened in the lab. We do in our house what we call trickle down lab, where I'll learn something cool and then I'll go talk to my spouse about it, and then he tells me a story, and then for the next 3 hours it's just like a lab party downstairs. So yeah, so I think the short version is just I was kind of living my life on autopilot, not really knowing where I was going. And now I actually like take pauses and make decisions. You can yes and or use but selectively. But actually like living my life for real. And so it's been huge. And part of that magic is the people in it, not just carrying all the things. So thanks.
Can I just add to that though, like the idea that the people, like this group is really, really special. And I love all the people, all the friends that I've made. And I have to say that people who are drawn to this and who join something like this are going to be my people, I've realized. And so that you will find people who you will connect with because that's the people who are drawn to do something like this.
I will say something. Kelsey, I'm glad I could be the tip of the spear for you. Just like you, when I joined the lab, I was going through a major life transition and I was just starting grad school and wasn't really sure if I was doing the right thing. It was just a huge commitment and I hadn't been in school for almost 20 years. And now I'm an intern to be a therapist. And I recommend that everyone as a therapist, but this thing, the lab, really put fuel in my gas tank and helped me get some momentum. I was just stuck. I'd moved somewhere new. I didn't really know many people. I was overwhelmed with school, and I was just getting stuck in these same patterns over and over again and not really paying any attention to myself and what I needed or what I wanted. And the lab sort of shook me out of that. It gave me like this time where I could just be fully present, not be consumed by the other things in my life. And that was a really beautiful time that I looked forward to every week, and seeing all of you amazing people. Um, and I also feel like I was sort of going through my life wanting the answers. Like I needed to know where I was going at every turn. I needed to know if making a left turn here was the correct decision. Because if it wasn't, I didn't want to do it. There was a lot of fear involved. And one of the things that I learned from the lab is you don't have to know where you're going, right? Some of the exercises we did where we just put a pencil on paper and just like went wild without thinking about it. I think at one point we were actually like running around our rooms, like walking in random directions while we were drawing on a pad, trying not to think about anything. And that was such a freeing exercise in, even if you don't know where you're going, you're still going to end up somewhere. And I think taking that lesson and internalizing that and carrying that into life really helped me to move forward in a way that felt authentic and true for me, and not continuously consumed with needing to know what was going to happen next, just knowing that I would get to the next thing. And that was huge for me.
Yeah, I think that's so well put. But also part of it for me was that, in the sense that like I don't necessarily know where I'm going, but I know that I have always gotten myself out of everything that hasn't turned out the way I wanted. And no matter what, I'll figure it out. So like that connective bit about being able to do the thing was huge.
I love that. You know what I'm hearing from both of you is like, it's sort of like the nomad inspired kind of experience, I think, that we had in the lab. And I love that. I think that that's that idea, right? We're all nomads on this earth. We're just moving through life and figuring it out, right? We don't always have the answers, but we're discovering it along the way. And that, just saying that out loud for myself again, I probably need to say that every day. Because that's just, that resonates with me so much.
I think that, one of the things about this, we're nomads and we don't know where we're going, is that you take a few risks, like joining the lab. And then I thought, I might learn some good art tips and maybe how to do improv a little bit. But I didn't really expect that I would have all these new friends. Like that was not something that I thought about at all. I didn't really understand how it could be this whole world of people that I care about, that I can learn from, that I can connect with. And that was such a really, truly delightful surprise.
Yeah, Miriam, I feel that too. I don't remember what it was like to not know all of you, and just like really grateful for all of you, and have learned so much from all of your perspectives, and also really appreciate Carrie for facilitating, leading this in a way that that makes it really easy for us to connect with each other and get to know each other better, and creates a lot of opportunities for us to share our experiences and connect.
It was a little intimidating being the only guy in this group. And I think for a lot of men out there, it is intimidating to do anything that makes you feel like you're going to have to feel things. But man, once you just sort of open up a little bit and let things kind of move freely, it's so nice. And I just want to encourage, like, if there are guys out there that are nervous to do something like this, that's okay. You can be nervous, but I'd encourage you to try it, because it's incredible, and you get to sort of get in touch with parts of you that you've never heard from before. I think the lab's really hard to explain because there are so many different pieces that all have to come together to make the lab magic. I mean, that would be like me saying, explain Ariel. Like, you can't, right? So it's not like the pencils or the markers or like the paper or the exercises or the improv. It's everything, but most importantly, I feel like it's the people that are here. You know, you can run the lab 100 times with different groups and it'll be different every single time. And I think every single person in each one of those cohorts would say it was amazing. And I think it's just something that happens when you get a bunch of people together in a space that have something in common and that they like want to explore and try new things and they feel safe to do that, that you just end up with this feeling of like freedom. That's hard to explain, kind of like the lab.
It's like it's more than the sum of its parts. You know, it's like you just said, Jason, like you can say these are the materials or these are the activities, but it's hard to explain what happens. And I'm willing to bet that it would probably be like the experience might be subtly different in different cohorts too. So it's also not an absolute.
I also think it's different for each of us. I'm sure that we all had a slightly different experience, even though we were in the same cohort. Some of us, all 4 modules, we've had different experiences because we're different people with different brains and different lives. I also think it's so difficult to explain because there's so much emotion and feeling behind it. When I try to explain just to like my family or my friends, like what is the lab and like what do I do in there, I can say that like art, improv, nomad, inspired experiments, all this stuff. I can explain the structure of the Zoom call every single week. I can explain the structure of the whole cycle or the whole module. But I can't explain like this, like the strong feeling of like I get to go to this Zoom call with these people that I like deeply care about now and who I feel deeply care about me in my life. And I get to expand my worldview and expand myself with them. Like I don't know how to explain the emotion behind it.
I think it's a little bit like a recipe for some really amazingly delicious, food item or dessert or something where, you can tell people, well, you can put this in and you can put this in and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But until someone actually cooks it or bakes it and tastes it, they really have no idea.
I think what's special about it is that we are all unique and we're bringing our own experiences to the time that we spend together. Because when I think about bringing out the art tools and that first time doing it, and it brought me back to art class that I took when I was 9 years old, probably. That was unique for me, right? That was a feeling that I had and sort of sparked that sort of childlike joy in a way that I hadn't felt since I was that old or that young. So it's really hard to explain that to people, that it is about that it's about the community, but it's about what we're bringing. Because every activity that we would do, whether it's improv or art play, it was always unique, I would imagine. I felt like mine were unique. Even though the activity we were doing was the same, I felt like it was unique at the same time.
Yeah, I think that Carrie really holds a space that brings out a lot of that joy and the like childlike discovery and authenticity.
Miriam, I loved how you described the lab as like a recipe and you don't know until it's done and you're tasting it. Um, when I think about the lab and sort of talking to everybody, um, and I have recently been thinking for myself that I have a really hard time setting concrete goals for things. But I think so many of us came in to the lab with such different, we all had different reasons we were joining, and we're coming with different baggage and different histories and different, all these things and different things that we want to get out of it. And when I think about the lab, I'm like, you're going to get out what you want to get out of it. And it's going to do something, even if it's not, I wrote down X, Y, and Z, and this is what I want to leave with specifically. And I feel like going in, I might have had a hard time I had a hard time articulating goals. So my goal was, I just want to participate in this program that feels different than anything that I would have ever signed up for myself. And I came out with like this myriad of experiences and connections and takeaways and things that I could apply to my life, but really hard to just like put language to it. And I sort of see that with all of us. And again, that difficulty to explain the lab. And yet we can sit in a room and we can just have these connections and talk about what we're doing. And like we get it with each other on a different level. And without even experiencing the same things as each other. We're like, yeah. We're coming out with like our own great experience. And that's the point. Like we're getting a lot of great things. And so I think about that often, that like we're all coming in wanting different things or looking for different things, and we're all getting out exactly what we needed to get out of it.
It's so interesting because I feel like there are so many people I know, and I'm sure a zillion people I don't know, who would get so much out of the lab. And I just have such a hard time explaining it because there's nothing like it. It's like I can say, well, it's this art class. It's like, no, it's not just an art class. Well, it's an improv class. Well, it's not just an improv class. There's all these nomad inspired experiments. Like, well, it's not that. It's I don't know exactly what Miriam said. It's this, put this together and that together and Kerry magic and the magic of all the people who are in the group, and you end up with this amazing experience. But it's just really hard to explain.
I feel the same way, Sarah. I think of all these people, I'm like, everyone would love this. How do I just tell it in the right way?
What's funny is like I'd had this, as we're talking about now, like the experience of explaining it. And it's like I had several people, it's like, well, what do you get out of it? What's the goal? Like you're spending money on that. So what is it that you're getting? And it's such like a tangible thing that we're often seeking. And it doesn't, what the lab is it's intangible. There's not, it's not like I can check off my boxes and say, okay, yeah, we did this and we did that and I achieved this. It's like, well, I feel like even when I talk about, kind of stepping outside of myself and letting go of that self-doubt that I would have around the things that I'm creating at work, it's a journey. It's like I'm not done with that. I haven't come to like an endpoint. So yeah, it's really hard to explain that to people. I feel like it's a journey. Like you're starting a journey with the lab.
Yeah, I like how you put it with tangible and intangible, because I feel like I met Carrie at a conference because she was the keynote speaker. And like by the time it was over, I had like 3 pages of notes and I was like, yeah, that. But I didn't know what that was. It was just more of that. But like even her and I talked about that. And I'm like, I still can't tell you what that is, except it's this. It's the lab. I just didn't know. But like you said, like you're not coming out with a certificate or like a thing you can touch so much as, I don't know, something.
What do you say? You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll get uncomfortable, you'll make new friends, I don't know, you'll grow.
You'll get some art supplies.
I
kind-
want more of that.
Me too.
It kind of feels like kind of how we have collected all of these art materials along the way. Like we're collecting all of these like concepts to put into like a toolbox, if you will. That is not like, yeah, like how kind of how Sherry was saying, like it's not like over. Like we're collecting these things and then we're building upon them and using them in our lives to like better our lives and become the people that we want to be. And that is not a tangible thing that you can hold.
Set of like different tools, different experiences that, you know, can just like put to use forever after.